Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cocktails and Rocktails with me, your most notorious groupie, Allison Rouse, coming to you for another podcast episode. But you guys, there will be pictures. And don't forget, I am author of this little book and these three little books right here. And you guys, finally, I got the new cover downloaded. And guess what else I did with my book? A lot of you wanted an audio book. Amazon finally opened it up to AI. I now have an audiobook, and it is an artificial intelligence voice, but I think it might help people really understand kind of where I'm coming from better when you hear it from a voice rather than kind of listening to it in your own head and making your own decisions. Because someone once said about my book, she talks about we as her and her fame. It's like, no. When I say we, I mean me and my friends. Or me and my friend, or, the group of girls that I hung out with over the many cities and many years that I hung out with rock and roll. There was a lot of we. Or I mean me and the rock star. So we is not me and my ego. So hopefully the audiobook will help everybody kind of understand where I'm coming from better. And you guys, as always, I want to say thank you so much for all the love, all the support, all the friendships, all the stories, all the trust, everything everybody's putting into me here. To everybody who's making this channel, who's just joining us, all the new people, welcome aboard, welcome to the family, because we have made a really cool little family here, you guys, and I'm always so appreciative of it. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart and soul. Thank you. Lots of loves and cheers, big ears. And speaking of cheers, big ears, we're going to be talking today about, I'm going to be reading from a list. Let's see, this list is probably actually this is pretty new, May of 2023. But I'm also going to talk about another list because it's going to show how unresearched some of this stuff is and people put it out there as truth. But we are going to talk about a list from the Loudwire. I'll put the link down in the description. The Muses who inspired 15 of rock's biggest love songs. And you know what? My true love here, when it comes to cocktails, is really Bailey's. So that's what I'm drinking today. So everybody, grab what you want to drink, grab what you love, even if it is yourself, and kick up your feet. Let's have a little cocktails and Muses tales. All right, everybody. Cheers, big ears. Yeah. Nothing like a little Bailey's on a Sunday morning with brunch. It's my favorite thing. And sometimes before bed because it does kind of make me sleepy. But all right, everybody, we're going to start on this list. Like I said, it's from Loudwire. And the first one, obvious. Some of these are more obvious. Some of them are not so obvious. A couple of them you might have heard of. But the first one, obvious, Sweet Child of Mine, 1987. Axl Rose wrote for Aaron Everly, who was his ex-wife, and what is it? As well as, It's So Easy. The pair were married in early 1990. How'd that end up? Yeah. So when a lot of people don't realize when it comes to being a quote-unquote muse or being the girl behind the song, usually it's not a good reason. It's not necessarily that, oh my God, she was so beautiful and I just loved the look of her and we're so in love. Yeah, there are those songs, but there's some pretty bad ones that are, people don't realize the hidden meaning in them. It's just like that Dave Matthews song, Crash Into You. It's such a lovely melody. It just flows so beautifully, but it is a dirty little song about some sex games. Not even kidding. So yeah. Not every song means what you think it does. And someone else thought a song that we'll get to that at the end of we'll talk about that one later. All right, so number one, yeah, we all know Aaron Everly, Axl Rose, and I think any love song Axl wrote after that, quite honestly, is about himself because he really doesn't love anybody but himself. I mean, trust me, that hair these days, the morning after, I don't even think a mother could love that. So, all right, we're moving on to 2. And speaking about mothers, number 2, Ozzy Osbourne's Mama, I'm Coming Home. And, of course, this is Sharon. And what I didn't know is that Lemmy Kilmister and Zakk Wylde co-wrote the track. And, Zakk makes sense because, of course, that's his guitar player. You team up, you guys, you get into this mode. Yeah, you start writing the song. So that's pretty cool. And Ozzy says, I had been walking around with a melody in my head for a couple years, but never got a chance to finish it until I was working with Zach on No More Tears album. Good album. I really do like that one. So yeah, that's kind of cool. And at the time, Zach and I were doing a lot of writing on the piano. And Mama, I'm Coming Home was always something I'd say on the phone to my wife at the end of the tour. Oh, that's sweet. I do like that. Because, yeah, how many of us on the road have been like, Mama, I'm going to see you soon. Or, Baby, I'm going to see you soon. I'll be in your town next week. Or, whatever. I'm flying you out. So when it's something like that, I really think that's sweet. That's kind of nice. And we all love Sharon, don't we? We love our Sharon. She's awesome. All right. And, here's one that we all know why it was written, but it also shows that muses aren't necessarily a woman. Of course, All My Love by Led Zeppelin, Robert Plant. We all know that he had sadly lost his son, Carrick, at the time. He didn't want to be in Zeppelin anymore. He didn't want to do anything. He just wanted to be with his family, his wife, which a lot of you guys don't know. Robert Plant also dated his wife's sister, Shirley, and that's their son, Jesse, is with Shirley and not Maureen. So, and somebody said that Maureen was the second choice anyway. But anyway, that's besides the point. That was in one of the other scandalous videos I did. But anyway, so, yeah, and that he said he lost his boy. He didn't want to be in Zeppelin. He said he ended up writing All My Love for Carrick, which appeared on Zeppelin's 8th and final album, In Through the Outdoor. And it's only ever been played live once. Oh, wow, I didn't know that. I guess we never really think about it, so that's crazy. But then again, some of these could be wrong. And I could see where he would have a hard time singing that live, because that's your kid. I don't have kids, but I couldn't even imagine what that kind of loss would be like. We've all lost somebody, parent, family member, grandparent, whatever, but losing your kid's a different ballgame. Okay, and here's one, Stacy's mom, and he kind of used everybody kind of knows someone with that hot mom, that you're so Fountains of Wayne's, so though the band's intention with the song was to highlight how adolescents develop crushes easily during puberty, one of the singer's friends, Schleisinger's friends, apparently had a crush on his grandma. His grandma. Okay, I can see the MILF, but a GILF? Okay. I mean, that's, Gen X is aging very well. A lot of women I know are grandmas and they're still hot. So, okay, depending on the grandma, but when I think grandma, I think my grandma, the old perm set. Although my grandmother was always very gracious together and well put, together. She was still a grandma. So when I think about that, we all think of that, our generation of how we see our grandparents. But then Beverly Hills grandmas, some grandmas in Beverly Hills are really hot because, they have Dr. Ray Ray to thank for that. But, after a certain age, just boob jobs don't look very good. I'm sorry, they just don't. Breast implants don't look good after 70. After 60, really. I mean, probably before that, depending. But anyway, another thing. So, yeah, one of my friends, maybe 11 or 12, came to me and announced that he thought my grandmother was hot. And I said, hey, you're stepping over the line. But at that point in life, I wouldn't put it past anyone. Oh, he was the bassist. So you would sleep with your friend's mom and you would let your friend sleep with your grandma's mom? That's kind of weird. Oh, right. And here's another muse, 15 muses, because this list was not specific to women. Because everybody thinks, women, because we've been so brainwashed to think of that 70s generation. We were muses. Please. Anyway, so Heart's Magic Man. And it was one of their biggest songs. We all love it. My friend actually walked down the aisle to this song back in the early 90s, late 80s maybe. So it's absolutely... Ann Wilson wrote it. And it's absolutely her leaving home song. My mother wasn't all too sure the best thing for me was to leave home, even though I was 21. She wasn't sure I should be jumping into this full-time, physical cohabitational relationship with somebody in a whole other country. And it was a love at first sight that lasted about 8 years. But Magic Man was definitely written about the spell that I was under and my conversations with my mother about it at the time. So that's pretty good. Her boyfriend was Michael Fisher. That's the guy behind the song. And he managed Heart. And that was a long relationship. And he was a bit older than her, living in Vancouver, which, let's face it, Hart was living in Seattle. Vancouver's a couple hours away. Not like she was going all the way across the world to, you know, Crimea or somewhere, Poland or something. But, mothers, everybody who has kids, they know. It's hard to let your babies go. And then here's the thing I didn't know. This song, I Don't Want to Miss a Thing by Aerosmith. So, and we know that maybe Aerosmith doesn't really write all their songs. A lot of bands don't. They have songwriters that, write the songs for them. So, this one was actually written by Diane Warren about a love between another couple. And you're wondering why I have this picture right here of Diana, oh my gosh, why can't I remember her name? Barbra Streisand, Diana. Barbra Streisand and James Brolin, because this is who the song was actually written about. Because Brolin had said that he missed Diana. Why do I keep calling her Diana? I'm thinking Diane Lane, who is married to Josh Brolin, I believe. Yeah. Anyway, so James Brolin, his dad, said he missed Barbara while he slept, which is really sweet, and you see the love between them. You see how long they've been together, and it just works for them. So she kind of heard that, and, when she wrote it, she thought it would end up being like a Celine Dion, for Celine Dion or somebody like that. So she didn't even really write it for Aerosmith. She just happened to be a songwriter that wrote for many people and used a couple she really thought was so sweet. And that was kind of what inspired that song, that what James Brolin said about missing Barbara when he was sleeping. And then it ended up in the hands of Aerosmith, which it turned out to be a really good song. Very commercial, not your typical Aerosmith, but kind of power ballad for them. So good song, whatever. It is what it is. All right. And we have Paramore, Still Into You. Now, I don't really know this song very much, but it was frontwoman Hayley Williams started dating New Found Glory's Chad Gilbert in 2007, and they married in 2016. Their hit, Still Into You, was written about the pair's relationship. However, the couple divorced by the end of 2017, and Williams reported experienced various health issues as a result of the stress endured by the end of the relationship. I went through the marriage because I had a lot of shame about mistakes I'd made. I got into that relationship prematurely. He was not divorced from his previous wife yet. I was lonely. It was the beginning of the guys and I not having a great time in the band. I started making bad decisions, running, looking for the right door. 10 years trying to redeem one terrible mistake will send you to a lot of the wrong doors, including directly down the aisle. So, wow, that's a roller coaster, a heck of a song. So, somewhere it was between the guy and the mistake and probably the ex-wife that he wasn't divorced from yet. So that was just a whole situation that was a muse for these guys, which is kind of cool, She's very raw about that, and I like her that she was saying she was making all these bad decisions and she was trying to right her own wrongs by doing something that society considers right. But you know what? Fuck society and what they think sometimes, because who says we have to get married? Who says we have to right our wrongs by doing something that big that's going to be another mistake? Don't hurt anybody else. Don't do anything that would bring you that bad karma, but don't rush into what society thinks is the best thing for you. You know what's best for you. And it sounds like she finally figured it out, I hope. All right, AC/DC's Whole Lotta Rosie. Yeah, we know they did it. Dirty Looks did it, became one of their hits as well. But a really good song. So A Whole Lotta Rosie, can't it really be considered a love song? But there is a story behind it regardless. So, Muses, like I said, not necessarily a love song. They breakup songs, dirty, filthy songs, any type of emotion or whatever makes yourself tingle, so not necessarily, somebody being this beautiful little nymph hanging out, in Frank Zappa's pool. That's not the muse is not necessarily a person, and a person can't necessarily force themselves to be that to somebody, because let's face it, anybody who's called themselves a muse, where's the songs written about them? Because you know who's not on this list. Yep, she just flashed there. Not on this list. So, okay, but let's talk about Rosie. So the late Bon Scott penned the tune after a little rendezvous in Tasmania, Australia, with a woman who was larger than him. In all fairness, Bon Scott was a pretty small guy. He was like Angus and Malcolm. They weren't more than like 5'3", 5'4". Tiny little rock stars, huge phenomenal power. Anyway, so it took him decades for the identity of Rosie to be uncovered. Writer Jesse Fink did some digging over the years and learned the woman was named Rosemarie Garcia, who lived in Tasmania. She was a street girl and sadly passed from drug use. Oh, that's too sad. In 2021, another writer named Dean Goodman located her certificate of passing, confirming that Rosemarie Carol Garcia had passed at the age of 22. Rosie is the woman depicted on the right side of the photo. This is the photo, that's the woman that's with him. So I wonder if, like, you know, because Bon Scott was pretty young, and I think he passed pretty quickly after this. So, I mean, soon, I wonder if she was like, hey, this way, Bon, let's go. Want some more little Rosie? And definitely not Rosie Palm and her 5 sisters. Just one Rosie. So that's cool, though, you know. Like I said, it just wasn't a woman trying to be a muse or forcing herself into that role or anything like that. It's a situation. It's an emotion that comes up. That's the real muse. Not necessarily the person, but that person and you just happen to be going through whatever it is you're going through, like a little giggle, like, you know, Whole Lotta Rosie. Or like, you know, you see another couple, you just hear a line and it's like, wow, that's pretty cool. I want to write a whole love song about this. Or yes, of course, the heartbreak and stuff, which, you know, the next song, Jesse's Girl, let's see. Oh yeah, Jesse. I always forget that Rick Springfield was on General Hospital. That was my generation. A lot of people who see Rick Springfield now don't know that. He was an actor on a soap opera. So Jesse wasn't actually a real person. The friend that Springfield had made was really named Gary, but he changed it to Jesse to make the name flow with the music better. So, I'd been taking stained glass classes at the time. The rocker told Entertainment Weekly of where he got the inspiration from the song. And there was a woman there that I fell for. I became friends with her and her boyfriend. They had no idea I was burning for her. And Springfield was right. Gary's Girl doesn't have the same ring to it. So again, a whole other situation. He was pining. He didn't want to, you know, cross the line to his friend. And yeah, Jesse does. I couldn't imagine Gary's Girl. Wish I had Gary's Girl. No, not the same flow. I do like Jesse better. So yeah, but we all knew that was true. And guys do that all the time because, as we know from the song Rosanna by Toto about Rosanna Arquette, that yes, the lead singers sometimes pine for their friends or bandmates' girlfriends, because Rosanna was dating someone else in the band and she just came in the studio and the lead singer was so in love with her, and then he wrote that song, and yep, the rest is history. And same situation right here with, you know, Rick Springfield and Gary. So, and then we have Paul McCartney. We all know this. Maybe I'm Amazed. This is about Linda. You know, a lot of his songs are about Linda, his wife who passed away in 1998. You know, so that was like, she was definitely a muse because I think, you know, she really inspired a lot with Paul. I think they were a great couple. You know, she inspired him to be a better man, to be a good father, to be a you know, I don't think he's a great bass player or anything like that, but to be a better musician with wings and to not give up after the Beatles broke up. I think he really became a better musician with wings, because even through the Beatles' experimental years, you know, Sgt. Pepper's and, you know, the 60s and the burgeoning hippie culture and stuff, I still think that he was making really good music in that era, but I think Wings is where he kind of went into his own. And Linda should not have sang, but, you know, great reason to be a muse, a woman that he was with for how long? Almost 30 years? Like 29 years? So, yeah, of course that's going to be a muse. You've got everything in your life together. All right, the next one, Kiss by Beth, or Beth by Kiss. Which this song created another controversy when they did their the greatest hits album or whatever. And Gene Simmons called Peter Criss and said, hey, Beth is going to be on the album. And Peter Criss fully expected to go and re-record it and it to be his song because he wrote it and he sang it. But no, they had Eric Carr. So on that one album, Eric Carr sang it. So it's one of the Kiss's more delicate songs, but according to Peter Criss's ex-wife Lydia Criss, it didn't exactly have a loving origin. The rocker wrote the song about his old Chelsea bandmate's wife, whose name was really Becky, and it really made fun of her. Originally, so there you go. Everybody thinks song is like Beth is this deep love song that he's coming home, just one more song. But no, the sweet little ditty, much like that Dave Matthews Crash I was telling you about, not exactly what you think it is. All right. So originally the song wasn't a sweet song like it is now. It was a mean song, Lydia Criss told Song Facts. It was written about Peter Criss's guitar player's wife. His name was Michael Brand and her name was Rebecca. And everyone called her Beck, as Becky. So when the song was written, it was written like, Beck, I hear you calling, but I ain't coming home right now. Me and the boys are playing Too Bad, So Sad type of song. Which, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. That really does make sense. And now I'm seeing the song in a whole different light. Because this is a song I grew up to. I was in my brother's room listening to his Kiss albums again and again and again. And yet, nope, not a love song. I'm coming home, Beth. Not like Mama, I'm coming home. Definitely not. Again, another song that people misconstrue. And another song that a lot of people misconstrue, I'm going to throw this in right here, is I was reading this other list from another one, and it said, Nothing Else Matters was written about James Hetfield's wife. James has only had one wife, Fran. And Nothing Else Matters came out before he met her. He met her on the tour for the album that song was on, the Black Album, in Denver. I was there. So what is this song about? Everybody's like, it's about Kristen, his ex-girlfriend. It was a phone call that Kristen and James had. But the answer's been here all along. It's down in one of my other episodes. Just because the episode doesn't say Metallica on it doesn't mean Metallica or things aren't in there. Try finding it, you guys. What is it? Something I've Got Something to Say, or The Lion, the Witch in the Wardrobe one. Yeah, it's all down there. So that can tell you that not every song, not every list of these songs, because I went through quite a lot of lists, a lot of them are not researched, because everybody knows, you Metallica fans, you know, especially James's fan, that song was never written about Fran. The timeline, of course, doesn't meet up, and the only wife he ever had. So this person writing that other list, totally non-researched. And this is what kind of drives me nuts about some of these other podcasts and YouTube channels and stuff that just kind of go on their own flow. They don't research anything, or they use the same old rehash list, and, use an AI voice for that. They don't even put any thought or effort into it. And they don't put any reality into it. And you want to know the reality? Ask the people that were there. And guess what, people? I'm one of the only people out there that's really was there. So yeah, that song, not about his wife. The story behind it and the phone call, it's in one of my videos hidden. Go find it. Tired of talking about it. All right. So the next one on this list is the Rolling Stones' Wild Horses. Again, somebody thought this was, I thought this personally was about a woman. Wild Horses Couldn't Drag Me Away. I was thinking of maybe, Mick and Marianne, that whole lore of the golden rock couple from the 60s, type of thing. But no, it was about, Keith Richards initially wrote it about his son, Marion, when he was born, that he didn't want to be away from his son. He was going to miss his son. So, yeah, that's really beautiful. But it's become the thing about a song, it can become something different to everybody. Even though the person who wrote it, it was inspired by this, it can become something totally different to somebody listening to it, going through something similar, or the feeling, or, heartbreak, or being rejected or, losing a job, whatever. So a song, even though it was inspired by something like his son, like I said, I thought it was about Mick Jagger and Marianne Faithfull. So it can become something completely different for somebody in their own mind. But like I said, the truth is out there if you research it enough. And I went through several lists. It was so hard finding lists about songs about women that weren't just your typical crap, or the stories that we knew were not true, that's already been debunked and stuff like that. So, like I said, truth is out there if you research it. All right. And the next two songs are about the same woman by two totally different men. A lot of you might know who I'm going to say. It's Pattie Boyd. First one, Something, the Beatles song in 1969, was written about Pattie Boyd by George Harrison. Their marriage only lasted for 3 years. And she did serve as the inspiration for several songs that George penned by the Beatles, and most famously, the most romantic, Something, but also For You, and a few others. So I think really on this list, when people think about Muses being a woman behind the song, I think Pattie Boyd definitely is a definition for that. Because Eric Clapton, Wonderful Tonight, and a few other songs we all know, written about Pattie Boyd and the complications. He was in love with his best friend's wife, and after Pattie and George divorced, and then they got together, and the tension it was this whole struggle. So these two songs go together so well because how many different artists write about the same woman as their muse? So far we hear none. These are the only two guys on this list that wrote about the same woman so far. And then here's one, the Allman Brothers band, Melissa. So Greg Oldham, that was a roadie for, no, who was that? Never mind. Anyway, I'm going on a different track. So Greg Allman told the story of how he wrote the 1972 song Sweet Melissa, which I love that song. It's such a great song, and it's just Sweet Melissa. And really, honestly, he was going around with a different name, Delilah. And then one day he's in the grocery store, and this is like the inspiration for a song, or that one thing you need to get through that writer's block of the song. It could come anywhere. And it was just him at the grocery store hearing a mom saying, Melissa, where are you? Because the child had run off, and he was like, that's it, Melissa, not Delilah, Sweet Melissa. So he had already been writing the song, and he said, when I heard the name Melissa, I went, Sweet Melissa. I could have gone over there and kissed that woman. As a matter of fact, we came down and met each other at the end of the aisle, and I looked at her and I said, thank you so much. And she probably went home and said, I met a crazy man at the fucking grocery store, she said. He wrote, which, like I said, there it is. You're in the middle of a song. You can't get that one thing right. And all of a sudden you're at the grocery store and you just hear a mom calling her daughter. And it's the most innocent thing, and became one of the most wonderful songs. Not necessarily about anybody anyway. Just needed that one name, and he got it. And what a great song. Yeah, and that's the end of this list, you guys. So, but like I said, there are more songs. And tell me your guys' favorite songs. There's Elvis Costello, Allison, which he says was just written kind of spur of the moment about a girl he met who was a cashier at a Tesco or something. And I could be wrong about this. It was something like that. But then Baby Buell was like, this song's about me, this song. And it very well could be, because she did spend a lot of time with Elvis Costello. And sometimes the rockers won't tell the truth about the song. Like I said, you want the truth about the song? Go to the people who were there in that moment when it was written. Like I said, nothing else matters. Yeah, truth about it's in here somewhere. It's in there a lot of wares. But anyway, so and this goes to prove that people who say I was a groupie because I wanted to be a muse. Well, guess what? Not a single one of them are on this list or in any of those songs. The Who didn't write a song about them. And you know what? But you know what? People are like, well, what song did they write about you? Well, Pete Townsend wrote a song called Old red wine as a tribute to John. And he does mention me in it. So, am I a muse? Fuck no. But look, here's another type of muse for a song, is mourning your bandmate who has passed away and kind of putting tongue in cheek. And, John used to love his wine, old age, the more expensive, the better the wine. But sometimes it really was just crap. And Pete would and this is what the song is about, so kind of about the tongue-in-cheek of how Pete really felt about the old red wine, but he's missing his friend, and he will always, remember how posh John was and how just, wonderful he was, and the good times that they had together, and everything that was gone away from that day in 2002. And old red wine, like I said, there are different types of muses. It's not necessarily, even in, God, what was that movie, Ben Affleck and with Selma Hayek and Alanis Morissette was God. Oh God, what, you guys tell me what it is down in the comments. But Selma Hayek was the muse and stuff like that. So that's how we tend to picture what a muse is, and how some people portray who they wanted to be, but really weren't, from back in the 70s. So muse is something that just, it's a moment that inspires you, that hits, that just clicks, that just creates that moment. And it can be heartbreak, and it can be love, and it can be sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Like I said, Tesla sat down, and Kristen and I have talked about this on one of our episodes. When we were hanging out with them in Def Leppard, we were all just in a hotel room. They were playing guitars, and they wrote a little song, with Kristen and I standing there, about Kristen and I, which was kind of cute. And then again, not a muse, that's just a drunken fun time with a bunch of guys, So I'm not trying to say that I'm a muse and nobody else is. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the muse isn't necessarily a person. It's a situation inspired by a person, whether it be your son, whether it be your bandmate, whether it be your lover, whether it be your mother, whether it be an imaginary person altogether, and you're just trying so hard to find that one bit that makes it come together. That's the real muse. That moment where it just flows. So, all right, you guys. I hope you guys today enjoyed today's episode. And thank you to everybody who made it to the end of the episode with me, and for dealing with me lately, because I've just been so busy and going through some stuff. Because, I think the past few months have been really kind of taxing on me personally and stuff. So thank you guys for just bearing with me as I'm trying to get through these few months and trying to get everything together in my podcast episodes. I know you guys had a great time with Diana. Like I said, Kristen's coming back. I really do want to get the podcast with her going, you guys, and I'm so excited about my audiobook. Go and listen to it. If you have an Audible membership, you can listen to it for free, but listen to the whole thing, because I want everybody to really hear and understand. Just because I end the book in 2002, that doesn't mean that that's where my groupie life ended. Oh, God, no. I'm stuck to it. It's there for life. I still have my friends in rock and roll. All groupies do. We all know someone still. But, all right, you guys, thanks again for getting to the end of the episode, for all the love and support, for all the friendships that I'm making here, everything that we have together. I'm so excited for this year because I feel some really amazing things are coming. I know Kristen and her husband have my back out in LA. I'm touching on some things, trying to figure out. I think the universe is sending me signals and signs that I can't really talk about. And Sundance is here right now. So who knows? This is hopefully the year for the 80s ladies' voices to be heard and for us to take our place. So, all right, guys. And for those of you guys just lurking, speaking about taking a place, come join the family. Sit at the table. Hit that subscribe. Hit the share. Hit my bells, you guys. And we will see you next time here on Cocktails and Rocktails. Cheers, big ears. Oh, and speaking of, sorry, got this in at the end. Guess who I'm going to be seeing next weekend? The mighty, mighty Danny. You guys know who she is from the book. She was my partner in crime in every way. My true rock and roll sister. So, meeting up with her, you never know what's going to come. All right, you guys. Cheers, big ears.